Hello again and welcome to Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds with our particular focus on the exhibition style budgerigar, which are all happily chattering away in here, so I hope you can hear me okay. First of all, thank you for all those of you who took the time to support the last video. I think we actually hit that target of 30 likes within the first 24 hours, or certainly just over 24 hours of me posting the video. So a big thank you to all of those of you who took the time to watch the video, and then secondly to hit the like button. It's always good to get that sort of those early likes, because it means the video becomes more visible on YouTube, and of course the more visible it is, the video becomes, the more chance there is of people watching it, and the more chance there is of getting more subscribers to the channel and help the channel to grow. And indeed, I think the last 2 or 3 videos where we've hit that 30 mark has meant that we have seen an increase in subscribers again. So thanks to all of you who have taken the time to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already done that, then please do hit the subscribe button that should be down there somewhere now. Of course, do again. Let's see if we can get another 30 likes on this video. So do hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to comment. All the comments I try to answer. I normally do them on a Sunday morning if I get a chance, so that's my normal time for answering them. So do of course comment on this video or anything you've seen in any other videos, or anything you'd like to see in a future episode. Indeed, in this video I'm going to cover how I, in my shed, focus on nest box management during the breeding season with the exhibition budgerigars. And this came almost directly out of a question from one of the subscribers who asked about cleaning nest boxes, which I very briefly covered in the last episode. So what we'll do, the other thing we're doing in this video, of course, should have mentioned it, is we're going to have a look at a couple of new possible pairs for cages 3 and cage 6. So hopefully at the end of the video we'll have a look at those, and we'll pop those into those cages and see how successful we are. Anyway, let's start off then by looking at how I, in my shed, carry out my nest box management routines. So nest box management then, and I will emphasise that this is just how I manage my nest boxes, and I'm sure there are lots of other ways of doing it, and whichever works for you, I suppose, is the most important thing. But nest box management is important because you can quite often, if you have good nest box management, you can prevent some of the problems that may occur during the breeding cycle. And I would say that one of the important things is that they have a routine about how you manage nest boxes, so that you follow that routine, you don't miss anything, and therefore you're carrying out those regular checks. I did talk about the type of nest box that I use in a previous episode, so if you go, I think it was 2 episodes ago, so if you go back and have a look at that if you want to know. But they are the normal sort of box in box type. So we have a box where the birds will breed, where the actual birds or the bedding will go, and then there's another box that hangs on to the front of the cage, and as you can probably see, I just have 2 hooks. I don't know if you can see that there. So the hook there and a hook there that just hooks over the wire of the cage, and they are external nest boxes, and fairly simple. One just fits inside the other. It just makes it easy for checking the nest boxes. So I'm going to break this down into a number of areas, but generally, but all of these start with the same thing. So I always check my nest boxes first thing in the morning. So when I come in, I have a set routine about moving around the cages, doing water, topping up seed dishes and providing soft food. And when I'm doing that, when I reach that cage where I'm topping up the soft food and the seed, at that point I will knock the back of the nest box, and so that the hen knows I'm going to look inside, and I've mentioned that again before. I will knock the back of the nest box, hen will come out, or you know, I need to try and persuade her to come out. Most of them will come out straight away. And I will then look at the nest box. So every morning I'm checking the nest box. Now there's a couple of reasons, or reasons why I do it first thing in the morning. One is that fits in with my routine. The second thing is I will often find, or I find that eggs will normally hatch overnight and into the morning, and I don't know whether this is an evolutionary thing for the birds, but my guess is that it means that if, you know, if a chick hatches first thing in the morning, then it has a whole day of the hen feeding it, whereas if it hatched last thing at night, it would be stuck in the nest box and have, you know, a whole night without being fed. So my guess is that they generally hatch in the morning because of that. I don't know, maybe some of you will know better, but that would be my guess. So checking the nest boxes in the morning, any eggs that were due to hatch are likely to have hatched first thing in the morning. Not always, but you know, I'd say 90% of the time that's what I have found. So I always check the nest boxes first thing in the morning. Right, so then let's talk about the first process, which is when, or the first nest box checks, which is prior to the hen laying. So with the hen, a new pair put in there, or a pair that are on their second round, and they haven't started laying yet, again, I will always check the nest box still first thing in the morning. I will always knock the back of the nest box. It just gets the hen prepared for what's going to come when she's in there. But the main thing, all we're looking for here then at this stage, is to see whether the hen has started to clear the nest box. Now, you know, those of you that watch the channel a little while will know that I use bedding in my nest boxes. So I always put I use gold chip bedding generally in the nest box, and I fill it quite high, and I will be able to see at this stage, so those early checks at this stage, as to whether or not the hen has been into the nest box and started to clear it. I can also tend to tell when you first come in, because there will be bedding on the outside, on the bottom of the cage, or maybe even on the floor below the cage. So that's all we're doing at this stage prior to laying, is seeing whether she's clearing the nest boxes. And if she clears it out completely, all I do at this stage around nest box management is just to keep topping it back up again, just to encourage her to keep cleaning or clearing it out and getting ready to, you know, start laying. So that's really the first bit then, is when we are prior to laying. So what do we do then once the hen starts to lay? Well, at this stage, hopefully, if we've done the first bit correct, there will still be sufficient nest box material in there to stop the eggs from rolling around. There are two things that I do check though around the amount of nesting material in there. One is, first of all, is that she hasn't cleared it right out and then laid on the bottom. If that's the case, then I will remove the egg, put a bit more bedding inside the nest box, and then place the egg back on there. The hen isn't going to get upset. She isn't suddenly going to go, oh no, this isn't my nest box. She will come back in and sit. What she'll tend not to do is to clear any of that material out once she's started laying. The other thing is I will check the nest box. If she's laid on top of quite a lot of bedding, so it's quite high still, I will do the opposite. I will take the egg out and remove a little bit of the bedding and then place the egg back in. The reason I do this is I've had occasionally, when I haven't done this in the past, is the egg has gone down below so the hen can't see it, so it's sat a little bit too low below the nest box material. Hen can't see the egg and she just leaves it. She assumes that it's been damaged or it's been predated or whatever, and then the egg goes cold. So that's at this stage, that's the main focus of me when the eggs are laying. I will say I do mark my eggs, and I've mentioned that in a number of previous videos as to why I do that. So I will mark the eggs each morning, and then I can update my breeding records. So that's what I will do as soon as the hen starts to lay. So okay, the next stage in this then is when I'm expecting an egg to hatch. So with the checking the nest boxes every morning, I will, you know, I will go through that stage where I'm checking for to see if the egg is full. I have a set number of days after the laying, which is why one of the reasons I mark the eggs. So and if I've got full eggs, and I can then keep an eye on those eggs and can see the colour changing into that real nice pearly white, you know, I think it looks alive. The egg looks alive when it's full and the chick is in there progressing nicely. So I will keep an eye on that, making sure that we've not got any that are going that horrible grey colour, which might indicate that we've got dead in shell. So so as I'm approaching the hatch time, when the egg is due to hatch, I'm particularly keen then to make sure that the nest boxes are that I'm ready for that, really. So it's normally a day or a couple of days before, leading up to it. When I tap the back of the nest box, I'm watching to see what the hen does. Now, you will get some hens that once the egg is hatched, that for those first couple of, you know, that first day or a couple of days, she'll be reluctant to leave the nest box, which is always a good sign to me. So if I tap the back of the nest box and the hen is reluctant to leave, then I'm pretty much guaranteed that if I'm expecting an egg to hatch, that egg hatch and we have a chick in that nest box. Not all hens do that, but I found that a number of them do. So if that's the case, you just need to encourage her to come out. She will go out of the nest box most of the time, and if not, just lift her out and pop her back into the cage. So what I then look to see is to see whether the chick has been fed, and that's what you're looking for at this stage, and that it's not hatched and died. So if that's the case, then you just need, if it has hatched and died, and it happens, you know, I can only guess how stressful it is for that chick, spending all that effort, you know, chipping out of the egg, and then it just doesn't have any energy left to call for the hen. Anyway, so if that happens, then remove the dead chick. What you're looking for is to see that there's that early crop milk. Now bear in mind that when the chick first hatches, it will still have some of the yolk left, so it can survive a little while without being fed by the hen, but you're really looking to see that it has been fed. And certainly on the second day, you're looking to see a full crop in there. So that when you come in after an egg's hatched, and you know that there's a on that second day after it's hatched, then you're looking to see that the chick has got a full crop. I find just generally that if the hen has fed on day one and the chick has survived that first 24 hours, then the chick is likely to carry on growing and survive, unless something drastic happens. But generally the hen will continue to feed the chick. If she's not fed it, and you are not, you know, I personally, you know, I may top up occasionally with some chick feed, but in most cases, if she's not feeding it, then I would look to move the chick into another nest box, and we did that with, well, we moved the egg, in actual fact. But if you haven't got a nest box to move it to, then you may have to just try and top it up and hope that as the chick gets older and caws more loudly, the hen will start feeding it. So that's the nest box management here. What you're looking again to check here is that there's no risk that the chick is going to be become covered by the nest box material, but also that there's sufficient in there so that when the hen's sitting, the chick isn't resting directly on the base of the nest box. If you're using concaves, it's less of a, well, my guess is it's less of a problem than if you're using a flat nest box like I'm using with bed in it. So that's really what you're doing here. Now, generally the nest box will be being kept clean by the hen, and there won't be, because you know, so. And there won't be sufficient waste coming from this chick, new hatch chick, for there to be any real major mess in the nest box. So you're not really, I personally am not really worried too much about the state of the nest box at this stage. If you've got a very dirty hen, you know, who's, you know, making a real mess inside the nest box, you may need to think about getting rid of some of that. Particularly now the chick is hatched, you really don't want it sitting in there. Anyway, so that's the next bit, is when the chick is hatched. The next stage really is as we lead up to ringing. So a bit like where we've spoken about, you know, I'm prepared for when the egg is about to hatch. My records will tell me that when I've got a chick in a nest box that needs ringing, and at that stage, again, I need to prepare, be ready for that. This is a little bit about general management rather than necessarily about managing the nest box. So if I know that I need to ring a chick in, say, you know, nest box number 2, I need to be prepared before I check that nest box. So I will get a ring ready, it will be out, it will be separated from the holder of the rings, and so I'm prepared for when I get the chick out, or when I take the nest box off, that I have a minimum amount of time fussing around with the chick when I'm ringing, because, you know, some chicks are easier to ring than others, and what you really don't want to be doing is leaving the chick, you know, out in the cold for too long whilst you're ringing it. So get all that prepared before you go into the nest box. You then come in and literally you're just taking the, you know, nest box off, tapping as always, check the chick. You'll be easiest to tell which one's about to be rung. It's going to be the biggest one that isn't rung, and then you I will ring it. Once I've rung it, the way I treat the nest box is slightly different. From the moment I've rung the first chick in a nest box, I will always add millet spray into the nest box every morning. So every morning a small bit of millet spray will be added to the nest box. This serves 2 purposes, I've said it before, or a number of purposes. The first thing is that it gives the hen something to focus on in the nest box other than just the chick, so she won't start, hopefully she won't start, you know, messing around with the chick too much when she's bored in there. The millet spray will give her something to eat, but also give her something to play with in there. The second thing is, as the chick begins to develop and get older, it will see the hen pecking at the millet spray, and it will copy, and hopefully by the time it leaves the nest box it will already know how to eat millet spray. So that's ringing, or checking the nest boxes when we're ringing. The other thing I'd say here is, once the last chick in the nest box has been rung, at that stage I will begin to think about cleaning the nest box out, because at that stage you may have, you know, 4, 5, possibly 6 chicks in there, some of which are quite old and will be making a mess in the nest box. So at that stage, after I've rung the last chick, I will tend to take all of the chicks out, place them into another little dish with some bedding in it, clean the nest box out. Now, when I first started with birds, I was advised to only remove half of the nest box material and replace it with half of it with clean, so you end up mixing it up so that the smell inside the nest box isn't too different the next time the hen comes in. I used to do that. What I tend to do now though is I clean the nest box out completely, put a little bit of anti-mite dust back into the nest box, and then replace it with fresh bedding, and then replace the chicks back on top of that. At this stage, because the chicks are quite big, you can put a little bit of extra bedding in there, and I've not had a problem with the hen suddenly going, oh my god, different smelling in the nest box, I'm not going in there anymore. Touch wood, I still won't. The adding the extra bedding also at this stage will mean that any mess that the chicks are making, there's more chance of it, the wood chippings or the bedding soaking that up, rather than it just sitting on top of there. How often you need to clean it out will depend on, you know, how many chicks you've got in there, and the how messy the hen might be. You'll start to find as the chicks grow and feather up, the hen will spend less and less time in the nest box anyway, so it will just be the mess that the chicks are making. So at this stage now, what I'm doing is I'm just keeping an eye on the chicks, making sure that there's no problems. Once you've rung a chick, remember every morning when you check that nest box, check the ring, make sure that it's not becoming fouled with mess and, you know, all that stuff, and that there's certainly nothing getting caught underneath the ring that's going to irritate the egg, the chick, and cause the leg to start to swell. So what I do is take it out, I'll look at the ring, make sure that it's moving. You've probably seen me done it in do it in a couple of videos. I'll make sure the ring is moving easily on the neck, it's not caught, there's no swelling on the leg, and also that the ring is reasonably clean. If it has become dirty, most of the time you can scratch it off with your thumb. If not, get a little bit of water and just clean it with some water. The other thing you're doing at this stage with the chicks as well is you're checking they're not becoming dirty. So if their feet are becoming dirty, occasionally you'll get some that clog up. Again, give those a clean. And also what I like to do is to turn the chick onto its back, and I just check the underside of the beak to make sure there's no fouling of food on the underside of the beak that may stop it from feeding. If there is, I tend to use a blunt piece of wood, like a matchstick, something like that, or that cocktail stick, but a blunted end rather than a pointed end, and just dislodge it with using that, just to keep the underside of the beak clean. So that's what you're doing here, and this is some of the really important stuff here is around nest box management. You're also looking out for those splayed legs, and hopefully you'll catch it. You'll see that the hen is sitting a bit tight on one, and you can put some extra bedding in at that stage, or put in a larger egg. I know some people use cockatiel eggs to which means the hen will sit up high. If there's any eggs in the nest box that are infertile, or that where we've got dead in shell, that sort of thing, I will leave those until I've rung the last chick, just so that again it gives the smaller chicks the egg, when the hen sits, she'll only sit as far as the egg, and hopefully this will keep her lifted off of the smaller chicks that are in there. Once I've rung the last chick, then I tend to remove those eggs, any eggs that are in there. I tend to do them one at a time. That's just my own thing that I do. I'm sure I could remove them all at the same time, but I tend to just remove them one at a time. So one each day, if that makes sense. Anyway, so that's what we're doing here, and at this stage you're just keeping an eye on them, making sure that the chicks are not getting dirty and the nest box is not getting too dirty. And we're now waiting for that process where we start to know that one of the chicks are due to jump the nest, so they're due to fledge. And so at the point of fledging, again, you're keeping an eye on the chicks up until that point. Once they're out, remember, you at this stage, part of the cage management is that you've got a chick hide in there ready for that. You may find that you'll have some chicks that jump early, so they're clearly not old enough to be on the bottom of the cage. If that's the case, lift them and put them back in. You will, most times, the chick will then remain in the nest box until it's old enough. You'll occasionally get one that will continuously jump out. Keep popping him back in until it's old enough, or until you think that it's old enough to be out of the nest box. The flip side of that, you will get a chick that just will refuse to leave the nest box, will want to sit in there the whole time, and it will be big massive, you know, chick in there that clearly shouldn't be in the nest box. If that's the case, I would tend to take it out and pop it into the chick hide. Some of them will then just climb straight back up and go straight back in, keep moving out. Eventually they get the idea, eventually they do. Problem you've got is when the one keeps going in there and the hen is about to start its second round, or it's actually started its second round and laying. Which leads me on to the final bit around managing nest boxes, is what you do once all the chicks are out of the nest box. Now that will depend, from my point of view, on whether you're planning to let the pair go for another round, or whether you want to finish them breeding. If you're finishing them breeding, I will at this stage, once the last chick is out, just turn the nest box round so that the hen can't get back in there. And you may also think at this stage about whether or not you want to remove the hen or the cockbird and let one bird just continue to bring up the youngsters. Normally I would tend to remove the hen rather than the cockbird, and let the cockbird finish feeding them, and just let the hen have a bit of a rest, because she's done most of the work in the nest box anyway. If you're letting them go again, what I do is I will, once the last of the chicks is out, give the nest box a good clean. So take it out, give it a good clean, and this may include just giving it a rinse or a spray with anti-mite, and then put a large amount of fresh bedding back in then, so the hen once again has to start clearing it, and we're back at that stage one of prior to laying. So I hope that helps in terms of nest box management. as I say, it's just the way I do it. Lots of people will have other things. Some people will always check the nest box last thing at night to make sure that the chick has got it's had its last feed, and top it up at that stage to get it through the night. So that's another thing you might want to think about doing if you know, so checking the nest box at night and topping the chicks up once you know a chick has hatched. Anyway, that's nest box routine. Like I say, just the way I do it. Do have a look around and see how other people do it, and obviously do read some of the excellent books that are out there and articles on breeding budgerigars. So, spoken about nest box management. Prior to that, we need to find some new pairs. So let's have a look at the 2 new pairs for cage 3 and cage 4. So these are the first pair I'm hoping to put down. It's a cinnamon sky blue, which is actually off of the grey family. He has a reasonable style about him, good length bird, and quite a fine feathered bird, so not too bulky on the feather. Has a reasonable size mask and does blow quite well. And as you can probably see, he's quite a tallish bird, so quite a longish bird. So that's the cock bird that we've got, and the hen is the hen that came top for when I did the rundown. And this hen I've been looking at in the flight for some time. It's a really big, bulky hen, not a massive amount of length, but she's got some real width on it, and I don't think you can see from her face, or you can probably tell looking at her face, she has got really wide face, plenty of back skull. She's actually got quite a bit of blow as well, and quite a lot of feather. So I'm hoping these 2 birds will complement each other. So I'm hoping she will give some bulk to the cockbird. The cockbird will give some length, bring some length to the offspring. And I'm hoping the fact that she's quite a heavily feathered bird and he's quite a fine feathered bird will get something in between the 2. My only concern about this pair is whether or not this hen is going to breed for me. Because she is such a big and bulky hen, I am concerned that she won't go down, that she won't want to breed. I found this before with these slightly bigger hens, that they seem to be a bit more reluctant to go down to breed. But I'm going to give her a chance. She came out top. She's a really nice hen. She dropped her tail as a youngster and never fully grows back. It grows sort of half a length and then drops, but the cockbird's got, you know, fine feathers, as I say, full tail. So yeah, this is going to be the first pair, and this pair will go into cage number 3, and we'll see how they get on. Let me know your thoughts on this pairing. There was an opaline in the flight, an opaline cinnamon sky blue as well, that came out ahead of this cinnamon, but when I did the initial assessment. But when I look at them both in the flight now, I think this bird suits her better, and is probably a slightly better bird now. It's grown more and it's turned into a slightly better bird. So there we go. Pair, I think this is pair number 9 going into cage number 3. As I say, let me know your thoughts on this pair. So here we are then with the next pair. I did earlier post a picture of a bird on the Shed Talk Facebook page that was a grey-green cinnamon that I said I needed to get in a partner for. I still do need to get that bird a partner, but he's not one of the birds that's going down now, partly because this is the bird that's already had 2 goes in the breeding cages and didn't produce anything for me, although he does look in much better condition at the moment. What I think I'm going to do with that bird, before we move on to this particular pair, is I will probably pop him into cage number 5 once they've that pair in there finished raising that foster chick. Anyway, moving on to this pair, we've got a dark green cinnamon cock bird. This bird, I quite like this bird. He's got a reasonable style about him. a nice size mask, a reasonable head. He came out reasonably within the top 10 of the cock birds, and was now trying to find him a hen, and unfortunately there wasn't a lot that he wasn't related to in the main flight. So in terms of all the birds, the hens that I've picked out as being birds that I want to breed with, he's quite closely related to them. In fact, he is a sibling of the hen that we've got in cage number 3. So some quite reasonable background of this bird, part of the blue family, as you might gather. And we've paired, so what we've done is we've paired him to a opaline cinnamon sky blue. Now this bird did come out 5th when I did my assessment in terms of the hens, so isn't a bad hen, but I really would have rather given him something a little bit better than this. But like I say, there's nothing better in the flight that isn't really closely related to him. So this is the hen that he is going to have. Let me know your thoughts. She's, you know, not as I say, not the greatest of hens, but there will be some complementary traits between these two birds, I'm hoping. We'll just see what they produce. If they don't produce very much anything decent in the first round, then we'll probably split them and give another pair a go. As I say, let me know your thoughts on this pair as well. What we'll do now then is we'll pop all of these birds into the new pairs into their respective breeding cages and see how they get on. Well, I've put the 2 pairs in the cages behind me, so cage 3 and cage 6 are directly behind me. The nest boxes are still closed at the moment, so we'll leave it like that for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, and then we'll turn them around and put the nesting material inside, or the bedding material inside. So with the new pairs in their cages, that just about brings us to the end of another episode. As always, if you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit the like button. I've just been checking around the nest boxes, doing my normal, my normal nest box check, and actually in cage number 2, which is the Terry Sadler outcross bird, so the dominant pied. No, sorry, not in that one. In cage number 2, which is the Terry Sadler outcross, which is the Lutino bird. In there, we've got a nest box full of different colours. So I thought in the next episode, we'll take a look and discuss how we might have got all of those various colours in that nest box. But until then, as always, do stay safe, enjoy your birds.